Hey everybody, it's Colin Martin. It's time for another edition of Hump Day Highlight here at the Fayette Chamber, and we're really excited to have just a really great friend and just someone we really love here at the Chamber, David Chancey, pastor at McDonough Road Baptist Church. David, welcome to Hump Day Highlight.
Hey, thank you, Colin, and happy Thanksgiving to you and to your family.
Well, it is a special Thanksgiving edition of Hump Day Highlight, and we're going to talk about a couple of things here. First, let's check in. How are things at the church right now? Are you guys back to meeting in person? What's going on?
Well, we came back inside. We'd been online, and we still are online, but we came back inside Father's Day, June 21st. It's been sort of a slow go. Each Sunday, we've seen some new faces, and we've seen the attendance on site climb steadily. And so we sense some momentum at this point as we are going into the Christmas season, Thanksgiving season, and so forth. We are about 25 to 30% back, I would say, in person. But our folks have been very faithful to worship with us online and to stick with us, been very supportive. And so I'm real pleased with how we've been able to connect with folks online and also reach some folks coming back inside at this point. All the churches are having the same challenges. We've had to try to be creative and innovative. We've done a lot online with videotaping different things and offering different Zoom classes. Our Bible study groups are back inside also, and it's a combination of in-person and various technology, keeping folks plugged in. So it's coming along. I appreciate you asking. It's a challenging environment, a challenging time, but we feel good about where we are.
So now, how long have you been at McDonough Road Baptist Church now?
21 years, November 1st.
Wow. Wow. So has this been the most difficult thing you've been through at the church? I mean, in terms of your service as a pastor?
Well, to be quite honest, every church has its challenges. This has been a very interesting challenge. We keep using the word unprecedented. They don't teach you how to deal with a pandemic in seminary. So all of us, with the Lord's help, are flying by the seat of our pants. And so in that sense, it's been quite challenging and quite stressful. And we've just tried our best with the Lord's help to navigate these choppy waters called coronavirus.
Well, let me assure you, they don't teach you how to deal with this in chamber president school either. So I think we're all learning and flying by the seat of our pants. So tomorrow, Thanksgiving, Friday kicks off really Christmas season, though that seems to get earlier and earlier every year. Besides being a pastor at McDonough Road Baptist Church, you are a published author and a regular contributor to local newspapers, and you have a new book around Christmas coming out, around the theme of Christmas. Tell us about that.
Well, somebody asked me, how long did it take to write this book? And I told them 35 years. Because I preach Advent sermons every year, usually four, including the Christmas Eve service, 4 or 5 sermons. And so you try to run at it from a different angle every year if you can, but it's the same great story. People just want to hear the story of the nativity story. And so with all of this collection, one of my bucket list goals has been to write a Christmas book. And I entitled my book, The Most Wonderful News You Will Hear, Proclaiming Glad Tidings at Christmas. So obviously it's a play on the great song, The Most Wonderful Time of the Year. But this is the most wonderful news you will hear. And so it's got 3 sections. I chose my favorite, or some of my favorite sermons. And so the first 15 sermons, or rather chapters, are adaptations of sermons. I hired a book coach and an editor and said, please make these sound more like chapters than sermons. But there's some great stories, some inspirational stories, some humor, and some theology thrown in, and some different themes and angles approaching the Christmas story in these 15 chapters. And the second section is what I call Wonderful Stories of Christmas. I chose 25 of my favorite Christmas stories. And so they're inspirational Bible study teachers, bloggers, folks just looking to have a thought for the day. over the Advent season could use these stories. And then the third section of the book, I have a seminary preaching professor that I really think a lot of, and the book explains the relationship I have with this guy. But I asked him if he wanted to include some of his sermon outlines. And so the third section's, I think, 12 sermon outlines from Harold Bryson, who taught for years at New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. And so that's pretty much it. But I was real pleased with the way it turned out.
Pretty much it. That's a pretty substantial book right there. That's a little bit of heavy reading plus a little bit of enjoyment reading. I mean, that's a serious tome right there.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. I think I wanted folks to be inspired and encouraged, and I think it's timely that it came out this Christmas, because folks are really longing for hope, for a word of encouragement this year especially. And I think this book, God can use it to encourage and inspire folks and help them with their personal spiritual preparation, getting ready to focus on the coming of Christ.
So where can you buy this book? If our viewers today want to go purchase it for Christmas for somebody, where can they get it?
Well, it's listed on Amazon. If you go to the search engine and put in the most wonderful news, you will hear Chancey, Chancey. It'll come up right away. Or you can come get it directly from me. And let me give you my email address. It's David L. Chancey, Chancey, at gmail.com. So David L. Chancey at gmail.com, and I'll be glad to get you a copy.
That's outstanding. Well, we wish you a lot of success in this book. Now, this is not your first book, though, right? You're an established author, correct? Three, two. David, this is not your first book, correct? You've written other books, and particularly, tell me about your first book.
Well, my first book was another bucket list project. I had a goal of taking all of this material that I've been writing. I've been writing this newspaper column for almost 20 years for the Citizen here locally. It's expanded now into the Noon and Times Herald next door, and a couple of papers down in South and Central Georgia. It's also appeared in the Henry Herald and the Clayton Daily News, and on some online publications. And so I see this as an extension of my ministry. I challenge to extend my ministry beyond the pulpit and take the material that I've been preaching on or whatever, and maybe kind of adapt it to a newspaper column. So I took a collection of material, some of my favorite columns, but also some information, some things about the family, and wrote a book that's entitled "The Day I Nearly Met Dolly," tells of faith, family, and a few home runs. You'll have to read the first chapter to get the connection to Dolly. If you have any connections that would help me actually meet Dolly Parton, or if any of our watchers today have a connection, then I can meet her, present her one of my books, and then write the sequel, "The Day I Really Met Dolly." And but this book is really two parts. It's about running the race of the Christian life and relishing the journey along the way, making each day count. There's a lot of humor, I think a lot of inspiration, a lot of transparency in this book, which is about half of it's a collection of columns that have been refreshed and updated, and then a lot of it is autobiographical.
Well, that's pretty cool. Well, we're going to wrap this up on the three things we wrap up with everybody. First of all, tell us who's your hero? Who's a hero of yours?
I would have to say my dad is my hero. My dad died of colon cancer way before his time in 1993 at age 67, but he served in the Navy in World War II. He was a state of Georgia employee his whole career, working in the Department of Human Resources, which back then was the health department. He was a great Christian husband and father. He passed down his love of baseball to me, and boiled peanuts, and modeled how to be a a very attentive father and grandfather. And so I'd have to say my dad.
That's awesome. What's a highlight that either from your personal life or your career in the ministry that has shaped you?
Well, one of the things I'm thankful for, every Christmas season, when I bring out the olive wood nativity scene, I think about back to 2008 and my church surprising me at the end of a Sunday morning service with a trip to Israel. They wanted me to have the opportunity to go and to walk where Jesus walked and to visit the sites and to catch the biblical themes and history and so forth. And I bought this olive wood nativity scene that we put out every Christmas. And it's a very nice set. And it just reminds me of how generous my church family was and how grateful I am to have this relationship with this church family.
That's pretty cool. And finally, what are you hopeful about in the future?
I'm hopeful that 2021 will be a much better year for everybody than 2020 has been. And I have hope because God is on his throne. He has not abdicated his throne. He's in control. And I know that he's leading these scientists to develop this vaccine, which is going to be a godsend. Hopefully we're closer to that now than we have been. And I'm just hopeful that that we can get beyond this and get back to whatever the new normal is as we try to live our lives, not with fear, but with faith, and get back to some sort of routine.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there. So, well, David, thanks for being on. It's always great to see you. Thanks for what you do for your church and also for our chamber. You're a faithful attender of our events, and whenever I call you to pitch hit in for a invocation or a blessing for the meal, you always say yes, and I appreciate that.
Well, certainly. We appreciate you and your leadership.
Well, thank you for saying that. And folks, that's going to wrap up this edition of Hump Day Highlight. Have a happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. We got a lot to be thankful for here at the Chamber and in Fayette County, and we want to just have a great day tomorrow. Enjoy a long weekend if you're not working retail. If you are working retail, please do me a favor and go spend some money in Fayette County. We want to support our local businesses, but we will see you next week. Thanks.
Thank you.